North Carolina has massive goals, and to achieve them, they need Luca Bogovots to take the next step in ACC play.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, December 24th, 2025. Happy Christmas Eve to all of you out there. Hope you're having an incredible day, getting the opportunity to be with loved ones. Man, make sure you do that. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, now the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thanks so much for making us your first listen or watch on this Christmas Eve. Maybe you're driving to your family's house, whatever it is. Great to be together. Special shout out to all of you everydayers with us, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and of course our great insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Coming up on this Christmas Eve, we're going to be talking about Carolina needing Luca Bogovots to take the next step forward as we move into ACC play. Had a great question earlier in the week about Carolina's assists this year and where that falls historically for the Tar Heels. So I've done the research. I'm ready to talk about it. We'll look at Seth Trimble, who might still be able to get to 1,000 career points despite missing those 9 games. And we'll wrap talking about Mr. Bobby Petrino. Is he going to be the new offensive coordinator for the Tar Heels? Maybe. We'll look at that. So let's start with Luca Bogovots. In order for the Tar Heels to reach the heights that they want to get to, it's going to need a locked-in Luca Bogovots who keeps taking steps to the next level. Because of what Carolina's been able to do in non-conference play, going 12-1, they have everything in front of them that they want right now. There is nothing that's off limits. They can be any of the top 4 seeds in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, they haven't played a single ACC game yet, so they could win the ACC regular season and or ACC tournament. But all of that is going to require that Luca Bogovots, who's still getting settled in, not only to this team, but to America, to be able to continue to finding his way. And he's a consummate professional. He's going to do that. It's clear that he's working and working and working. And as you think about what he's going through, keep in mind all the personnel changes that have gone on. Going back to preseason, let's remember, he was not cleared by the NCAA. He was cleared by the NCAA, but then he wasn't cleared by North Carolina, so he wasn't able to play. So they were working on stuff. Literally the day of the first game against Central Arkansas, he finds out he can play, but obviously you're not going to put him in the starting lineup that day. So he comes off the bench again against Kansas. We started having conversations about, hey, when do you start putting Luca Bogovots into the starting lineup? Well, it came quicker than expected because that was when Seth Trimble had his injury. Luca then starts for the next 9 games. Seth comes back against Ohio State last Saturday. Pause there. So Luca starts his first 2, or doesn't start, but plays his first 2 games just kind of like, oh man, gosh. Then he's thrust into the starting lineup for not the reason you wanted it to. It was because of Seth's injury. And now Seth is finally back, but now Luca's been in the starting lineup for the last 11 games at this point. For the last 9 games when Seth came back. And the question is, who's going to get relegated to the bench? It was not like it was at the beginning of the season when that was Luka Bogovots. Instead, this time it was Jarin Stevenson, which makes sense for Carolina's personnel and what they need in the backup front court minutes. But all that to say, Luka is still figuring out this team and this personnel, just like, quite frankly, everybody is. But it's a little bit different in the guard rotation because you have more depth, unlike the front court rotation where it's like, got Henry, got Caleb. We're definitely rocking with those dudes. They're going to be our guys. And so keep all of that in mind as we talk about Luka Bogovots here. Now, recently on the show, I discussed how Carolina needed critically to have a third scorer to pair up to be a trio with Henri Veesaar and with Caleb Wilson. My postulation on that show was that it needed to be Seth Trimble, and I still stand by that. Those guys are the three of those amigos kind of together are averaging around 50 points a game. I've continued to think about that concept a little bit more, and I was like, Luca Bogovots averages double figures. There are only 3 of Carolina's 13 games this season when he's not gotten to double figures. So now the thought becomes, okay, Carolina actually needs 4 guys who can do it consistently. And to this point, Luka has pretty much proven that he can do it consistently as well, similar to Seth and Caleb and Henri. In Seth's absence, Luka had largely been that third guy. Here were his point totals in those 9 games: 19, 13, 16, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15. But now, as I look at the shape of this roster with Seth Trimble coming back and how it moves the pieces around and how it complements everything, I am of the firm belief, this is not hyperbolic, I truly, truly think what I'm about to say, that this Carolina team has the capability to be a top 5 team in the country. And yes, I know this is a year that's got a lot of really, really great talent, a lot of great teams right at the top with Arizona and Michigan, Iowa State and Duke and UConn and all of that. But Carolina can be in that mix. Heck, right now, I honestly think they are a top 10 team already. Yes, I know they're 12th, but there are a couple teams ahead of Carolina that I would slide Carolina ahead of. But if Carolina wants to be that top 5-ish level team, it can't just be the front court, and it can't just be Seth helping them. It needs to be Luka pitching in as well. You need a quartet of scorers, game in and game out, who can do it. And that's another reason why Luka is not just some ancillary part that's like, whatever we get from you is icing on the cake. No. To reach Carolina's lofty heights and expectations, they need Luka. Here's the data thus far. Luka had double-digit points in 9 of his first 10 games. Kansas was the outlier. But then in games 11 and 12, he hit a weird wall. ETSU Ohio State had just 2 points in each of those games. In fact, those are the first and only 2 games of his Carolina career so far where he hasn't hit a 3-point shot. Yes, Luka has made at least 1 3 in 11 of Carolina's 13 games to start the season. The Kansas game, the Ohio State game last Saturday, those are the only 2 games this season where he's not played 20 minutes. Seth Trimble was active in both of those. But then Monday night, he had a bounce back, Luka did, versus ECU. And yes, I hear the competition level. Sure, fine, whatever. But 15 points, just good to see the ball go through the rim. I loved that he was attacking. I love that he was doing a bunch, and that's what you need. Currently, Luka is shooting 32.3% from 3 and 71.1% from the free throw line. So the question then becomes, all right, Isaac, you're telling me that Carolina needs Luka Bogovots to step up and be consistent so that they can get to those levels. Cool. What does he need to do to get there? I'll give you 3 things. Number 1, he needs to consistently get into double digits in the scoring column. That requires not just pulling from outside, which I just feel there's a game coming where he's going to hit a bunch, it's going to unlock him, and then boom, he's gone. But he also needs to be aggressive. Luka has done a nice job getting to the rim, a lot of times getting fouled, and that's really good. Consistent double-digit scoring, 10 of 13 games so far. I would like to see that high percentage continue. Number 2, Luka Bogovots needs to get his 3-point percentage from 32.3% up to around, I would like 37%. I'm not even asking for 40. Currently, Luka is 21 of 65 from 3. Again, 32.3%. And so to get from 32.3% to 37% might seem like a massive leap, but I'm here to tell you it's not. Let me just give you some numbers on it. In totality, Luka has missed 44 threes, ironically enough. That's his jersey number. If he had made just 5 of those 44 he has missed, so instead of 21 of 65, if he was 26 of 65, he would be shooting 40% from 3. That's how little it takes to get there. If Luka had just made 3 more of his 3-point attempts, he would be at 36.9% right now, which is just shy of that 37% I'm looking for. All that to say, wildly doable for Luka to get to where I think he needs to get from 3-point land to help this team get to where they need to be. And the third and final thing I want to see from Luka is free throw shooting. My expectation for him coming into the season, and I named this, was 80%. That's where he needs to be at the free throw line, because one of Carolina's greatest assets should be the fact that you've got Luka Bogavac, Kyan Evans, and Seth Trimble as your 3 guards, all of whom hit 80% for their careers from the free throw line. Luka is not doing that right now. He's 9 percentage points shy of it. But similar to 3-point shooting, Luka is 27 of 38. If he had hit just 3 more free throws that he had missed, of the 11 he'd missed, he'd be at 78.9% right now. If he had made 4 more of the free throws that he'd missed, he'd be at 81.6%. So again, I say that's very doable for Luka, even though he's 9 percentage points shy, to get it up to 80%. But he needs to start hitting more of them at the rate he's done throughout his career. Again, just got to keep settling in. But Carolina, all that to say, Carolina needs Luka Bogovots to be consistent if Carolina is going to get to where they want to get to. One of the reasons Carolina is going to be able to do that is because they are sharing the ball so well this season. But how historically good is it for Carolina? I got those numbers for you coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, you guys, NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're actually reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place live bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. And live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a massive turnover. And FanDuel lets you jump right into those moments because live spreads, money lines, they all adjust instantly. Player props update as the guy gets hot. You can bet on who's going to score the next touchdown or what the result of this drive is going to be. Wooden Award odds, Caleb Wilson up to now tied for 3rd at FanDuel in Wooden Award odds behind Cam Boozer and AJ Debance. He's tied with Braden Smith of Purdue and Yaxel Lendeborg of Michigan at plus 1,600. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thanks for making Locked On Tar Heels your number one listen today. Thanks for making Locked On Podcast the number one sports podcast network there is. Also, we got a brand new program called the Everydayers Club. Would love for you as an everydayer of this show to be a part of it. There are 2 different tiers you can look into. It's great. If you go with the all access, the higher route, you'll get one-on-one text access with me, all access episodes, and exclusive newsletter, and 15% off discount to the Locked On merch store. Check it out, lockedontarheels.supercast.com, which, by the way, is in the show notes. On Monday's live postcast on YouTube, Todd Pegram asked me a question about Carolina's assists this year because he was wondering about what Carolina's highest number of assists ever is and if this team could get close to that. Todd, I told you I'd get the response, the answer, the research for you, and here I am with it. And I was interested. Carolina has been keeping assist totals. This is now the 58th season. And so what I did was I started by looking at how many total assists Carolina has had in each of those seasons and where they're at right now, and then went into looking at assists per game as well, because that way it's not just totals, which might be different based on how many games you played, all of that. So let's start with totals, because that's the raw data. Currently, obviously, the current Tar Heels are dead last in total assists because they've only played 13 games. They've got 224 assists. The team that was the all-time leader in total assists in the season was 1973 when Carolina had 855 assists as a team. That's crazy. So then I go from there to looking at average assists per game. Carolina right now is getting 17.23 assists per game, which is a lot lower than I thought, actually. It's 35th out of these 58 seasons. I expected it to be in the top half, maybe even 25, just based on how well they've been doing. I think part of that, I've been thinking on it. I think part of that is because Carolina has not been great at sharing the basketball the last couple of years. And so maybe this year is just like, wow, this is what assisting a lot looks like, right? So again, the assist per game this year is currently 35th all time in Carolina's 58 seasons of keeping assists. The leader, interestingly enough, is that same 1972-73 season. Carolina averaged 25.91 assists per game, just shy of 26. That is insanity. And so the question becomes, all right, Isaac, if you've got that assist per game and you can project out like how many more games Carolina might play and what total they might get to. So I did some math based on if Carolina maintains their current average of 17.23 assists per game, how would they finish in total assists? So I just ran the numbers on 4 different scenarios. If Carolina played 31 total games, which is regular season only, obviously they're going to make the postseason, both ACC and NCAA tournament, but just for sake of the argument, if Carolina played 31 games, maintained their current average, they would make it to 534.13 assists on the season. That'd be 49th all time at Carolina. Again, out of 58 seasons. So not that great. If Carolina made it to 33 games, which would be losing their first ACC tournament game, losing their first NCAA tournament game as well, that would get them to 568, which would be 41st all time. If they had 35 games, let's say getting the double bye in the ACC tournament, making the final, and then losing in the first round of the NCAA tournament, because that'd be 4 total extra games. That's 603 total assists, which would be good for 30th. And then I went way up. If Carolina got a double bye in the ACC tournament, made it to the ACC tournament final, and made it to the NCAA tournament final, that's 40 games. They would have, if the average stuck, 689.2 assists, which is 13th all time. All that to say, Carolina is doing great, but they would have to really up the ante to be historically great at Carolina. Now, here's something else that we need to keep in mind. None of those numbers I just gave you, either total assists or assists per game, is tempo free. All of those are raw assist numbers that don't account for things like pace of play or any other tempo related issues based on like how quickly opponents play, how quickly Carolina plays. All of that stuff is a part of it. And so that's why we talk about assist percentage. How many of your made baskets were assisted rather than individual? So you better believe, Todd, that I went that extra step to find all the assist percentage numbers as well. Carolina currently 22nd in the 58 seasons of tracking assists in assist percentage at 61.04. The leader, how about this? That same 1972-73 season when they assisted on 74.4% of their made baskets. That is really, really good. And I don't think Carolina's getting there. They're not going to up their assist percentage 13 and change percentage points. That's crazy. But I think they could continue to go up. We'll keep our eyes on it and monitor it. Speaking of stats and projections, one of the things I love is records. I love watching records. I love tracking them, seeing who breaks them, all of that kind of stuff. One of the things I wanted so desperately record-wise this year was for Seth Trimble to get to 1,000 career points at Carolina. I just thought that would be really neat and would be part of a legacy. You may or may not be aware that Carolina has more 1,000-point scores at Carolina only, right? So let's say Seth had transferred in this year from, I don't know, Notre Dame. I have no idea why Notre Dame was. How about Milwaukee? How about Marquette? Because he's from up there in Wisconsin. There we go. Let's say he transferred in from Marquette and had 990 points. If he scored 10 points at Carolina, that's not what we're talking about. Guys who actually scored 1,000 points at UNC. That's the list. Seth Trimble, as of right now, is sitting at 693 career points for Carolina. He needs 307, therefore, to get to 1,000 career points. I want this for Seth so bad. I don't know why I'm so latched onto it, but I am. And so I just ran a bunch of numbers based on different points per game averages and how many more games Carolina is going to play. So, for example, at 10 points per game, Seth would need to play 30 more games to get to 1,000 points. That's not going to happen because that would be the 18 ACC games plus 12 postseason games, and Carolina's not going to be able to play that many. How about 12 points per game? Seth would need 26 more games to be able to do that, which is mathematically doable. 18 ACC games plus 8 postseason games, but you would need both a deep ACC tournament and NCAA tournament run. If you keep upping it to 13 points a game, that would mean Seth needs 24 games. That would mean 18 ACC games and just 6 postseason. You see how it gets more doable each time. 14 points a game. If Seth averaged 14 points a game for the season, he would need to play 22 more games, the 18 ACC games and 4 postseason games. Of course, that's doable. That's like 2 in the NCAA tournament, 2 in the ACC tournament, or 3 and 1, or 1 and 3, something like that. And then if Seth averaged 15 points a game the rest of the way, he would need just 21 games to make it to 1,000. All 18 ACC games, and then just 3 postseason games. So I truly think both he and Carolina can do that. He's just got to keep scoring at the pace that he is scoring at right now, which, for the record, is 14.5 points a game. Can Seth do that? Yes, he can stay on it. Between 14 to 15, that would mean 4 postseason games, essentially, and he would get to 1,000. Come on, Seth. We believe in you. Now, there's been conversation earlier this week, interestingly enough, just like Bill Belichick, not confirmed, but that Bobby Petrino is going to be the next offensive coordinator at North Carolina. That would be great, and he would bring a lot with him. I'll explain the good and the bad of it in just a second. Bobby Petrino to North Carolina, I should say, as of right now, still not confirmed. Still is a thing. But this was reported earlier this week by Pete Nakos of On3. This was reported by Inside Carolina, whom we trust implicitly because of the way they source things and look into things. ESPN, however, says there's a way to go before this is going to be finalized. So, I mean, it really, truly feels like Bill Belichick all over again. I've been waiting to talk about it because I was hoping that Carolina would confirm it, but they haven't. And so now we're just going to talk about it and give the caveat that, like, hey, look, we're going to talk about this as though it's going to be a thing, but we need to know that it's not officially yet a thing, right? You with me? Okay, great. I loved how our guy R.L. Bynum talked about this in his article he wrote. He said basically that Bobby Petrino brings brilliance and baggage. Bobby's brilliance, Bobby's baggage. And by that, basically, R.L. is talking about Petrino's offenses. You all, if you don't know about them, they are next level. They are elite. He is a program flipper for a putrid offense, which is what the Tar Heels have right now. But also, Bobby Petrino brings with him baggage, not just brilliance. Think about it. There were all these various things that he's been through. There was when he left Atlanta, he told the Falcons players he was leaving, not through a team meeting, but through a written note. There was the motorcycle crash that ultimately led to an affair, not led to an affair, but led to the announcement and discovery of an affair for Bobby Petrino. Just a couple examples. There's brilliance, but there's baggage. I reached out to some friends who I know either have covered or do cover Arkansas, where Bobby Petrino has been multiple times now. John Neighbors, the great host of Locked On Razorbacks, Locked On Arkansas, said to me this. He said, I basically asked him, like, how would you think this would work? Bill Belichick and Petrino together, all that stuff. John says, quote, I mean, I think so long as Bobby is allowed to run the offense the way he wants, he will be a great addition, though. Dude is still one of the best offensive minds out there, but I think he is going for that interim gig again. Ha, end quote. So there's a big caveat you heard in there. Things in John's mind will go great as long as, and this is a big as long as, Bobby Petrino is allowed to run the offense in his way. I've not been in that room. I haven't talked to Coach Belichick about how he does that. So I got nothing to go on. But man, you hope that like my type of leadership is I'm going to hire you, make sure you know how to do what I expect you to do, and then let you do it in your way. If you got questions, come ask, and I'd love to talk to you about it, but I'm not going to micromanage you. I hope there's a level of trust there that if he's going to hire Petrino, that he says, hey, look, coach, you got all the history in the world with this thing. I trust you. If there are things that are ugly and need to be fixed, we'll talk about that, but it's your team, your show. I hope it's a conversation like that. I also talked to Aaron Moyer, who's a friend of mine that used to do podcasting for Arkansas, because you might or might not be aware, I live like an hour and a half north of Fayetteville, where the University of Arkansas is. So I'm surrounded by hogs on every side, baby. And so that's a thing. But Aaron Moyer said to me, quote, y'all are going to have fun with Petrino. He's mean, but he's dynamic. It'll be interesting to see how he blends with Belichick, end quote. And that's the thing. How will this fit together? I think if they're both willing to be humble, if they're both willing to say, hey, this is for the greater good of this team, awesome. Let's see it. The other thing I forgot to mention is John's joke that I think Bobby is going for that interim gig again. So Bobby Petrino just stepped in midseason last season to be the head coach at Arkansas. And John's joke is basically alluding to the fact of like, hey, maybe Belichick is out for one reason or another at some point, and then Bobby Petrino is just right there to step in and be the dude, right? Like, I think there's a greater than 0% chance of that happening. I think it's a very small chance, but a chance all the same. And so when it comes to what Petrino would bring to the table, man, I expect like a pretty immediate turnaround, which has been shown, hello, Kurt Signetti, that you can do that even at football with all the numbers you got to get if you are that coach. And think with me about how putrid Carolina's offense was this past year. They ranked horribly. They had 288 yards per game. Arkansas, on the other hand, even with not great personnel, was 18th in the nation in yards per game, 454.8. Carolina was not good at scoring the football last year, 19.3 points per game. Arkansas was 32.9, which is 25th in the nation. And they weren't great, but they did all of that. That's what Bobby Petrino can bring to the table. I love it if it's a thing. So fingers crossed, and we'll keep our eyes open. But when you think about what was there was a lot of gripes about the offense, but one of the biggest, and maybe the biggest for me, was we need explosive plays, get the ball downfield. That's what Petrino does. A balance of like pounding it, getting going, power running, but then boom, I'm going to beat you over the top, whatever it is. Can go to all of those things. But again, now we got to wait till we actually hear this news confirmed, which as I record has not happened yet. And I doubt it will, because again, today is Christmas Eve and tomorrow's Christmas Day. So we'll see what happens. Also, very sad news. Bryce Baker, Carolina's primed quarterback recruit, has announced plans to enter the transfer portal when it opens on January 2nd. I hate that. Boy, if only Carolina had played him some last year. But I know there's stuff with that and inner workings and things that we're not always privy to, but still, man, it stinks. I was very hopeful that Bryce Baker could be an absolute dude for the Tar Heels. We'll see what happens at the quarterback position. All right, you guys, thanks so much for being here with us. If you haven't subscribed to the show on video, make sure you do it, and audio as well. If you want to join our brand new Locked on Tar Heels Everydayers Club, man, we'd love to have you as part of it. That link is in the show notes, as is the link for the Locked on Tar Heels Discord. We'd love to see you there as well. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow. Yes, on Christmas Day, Coach Rob joins me tomorrow, and then Josh Marlowe on Friday on Boxing Day. We'll talk tomorrow with Coach Rob, but until then, peace.